Hello.
Hey, son.
Hey, Moon. How are you?
I'm good and ready to get this show on the road. Welcome to Vine Star Beans, to the sun.
And the Moon Talks. I'm
I would
Sarah.
love to introduce our host. Yeah, this is Sarah and I am Alex. Thank you so much for joining our channel. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for following our show. If you're new, welcome to this space that Sarah and I have created. We are both Cancerian people that can be really into our homebody selves. So this is an opportunity for us to share our whimsy and our playful and our work with y'all.
Yes. Always happy to be here sharing the magic. So, this channel is important because, like Alex was saying, we are Cancerians and we love to be inside, but there's so much magic that we have to share. And so, it's really important that we have platforms like this where we can share our takes on topics that are unique and fun and maybe a little unconventional. And so, what you can expect is we will have a topic that usually is preceded by a riddle from the previous episode. And then we will dive into some facts, some personal takes, and then provide some amazing advice and tricks and tips for you guys to dive in should you find interest in the topics that we are talking about. So, with that being said, should we reveal the answer to last week's riddle?
Absolutely. Let's reveal today's topic.
Drumroll, brrr, the topic that we are talking about today is new word. What is the new word?
If you have been within spiritual circles or even esoteric circles, this might be a phrase that you're already familiar with. But if you're completely new to esoteric or divination type worlds, then the new earth might sound a little crazy. But basically, going into a little bit of deep dive about our topic, the new earth is the belief that we are leaving an old way of reality, both in a physical, mental, spiritual slash emotional state, and collectively moving into a new era. The best way that I like to describe this is when you think about the Mayan calendar, right? So back in 2020, no, 2012, when there was all those books and movies about the end of the world because the Mayan calendar ended in 2012. That's an idea where something was ending that had been prophesized for centuries before, and now there was a new beginning. There was a new era. So that is what we mean when we say a new earth, that we are collectively moving in a different direction than how we perceive reality from centuries ago and moving into something that is completely different or a new era, a new stage. I love to show people as a resource is a book called The Dawn of the Sixth Sun. And that book is about Toltec Mexica prophecy. Toltec Mexica prophecy is what you called like the Mayans or like back in that age. And this author talks about how the last 6,000 years, the world's vibration or the collective energy has been about domination, power, war, and materialism. And if you just think back in our own lifetimes or the lifetimes of our parents, grandparents, we've lived through so many wars. There's been a lot of extraction, but also a lot of technological advancements because of that extraction that has all been the material world realized. So this book talks about that while we only see maybe a few hundred years, this has actually been the theme of Earth for 6,000 years. It has been in a masculine energy, and masculine energy just simply means it is outward action. It is about doing, initiating, right? Cardinal energy. And this has then developed into the world that we see now. Now, starting from 2012, which is actually a real year in the Mayan calendar that was significant and across different traditions, is because the Mayan calendar is not saying that the world was going to end, well, not hypothetically, but that world of the 6,000 years was ending and we are now shifting into a new era. And the Toltec prophecy says that after 2012, the new era begins. And this time, instead of 6,000 years, the new era is going to be 11,000 years. And that the next 11,000 years of Earth is moving into the feminine. So it's turning inward, it's turning towards spirituality, it's turning towards healing through communion. If you're into astrology, think about this as 2000 up in 2012 we have collectively been in an Aries energy. It is like that I am, that fire, that masculine energy, and now we are moving into a Piscean energy, which is all about collective consciousness. We're all together, and you can already see the seeds of this starting. For example, astrology is no longer like this creepy weird in the box thing. People, even if you're not into astrology, you know what astrology is. There's all these channels about spirituality. There's all these new ways of being, somatic energy, somatic healing, traumatic healing, therapy. All these taboo things have now become more normalized. This is just the beginning of what is prophesized as having an internal feminine collective energy, which in this book is alluding to a new earth, or a new way of being. And think about it, we are just at the beginning. Like, if this is true and it's 11,000 years, we're not even in the first thousand complete. We're literally starting it, which, in my opinion, can really describe a lot of the conflict that we're seeing in the external world because we're moving into such a pivot of rewriting Earth's history from the last 6,000 years. So that is in a nutshell what the new Earth has been prophesied to be or symbolize. I'm super curious, Sarah, about your knowings of the new Earth or your resources.
Oh, yes. That sounds so like, yeah, I'm gonna have to pick up that book because that just sounds like something I could just knock out very
Yeah,
quickly because it sounds just so captivating. 2012, I remember there's even like movies about
there
it,
is
and
movie. Mm.
people like to sensationalize stuff, especially in like Hollywood, where it's like, oh, all this stuff is gonna happen, and it's like
It was way more subtle. Like, yes, the shift happened, but it
too
wasn't like,
much.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with what you're saying, especially about like the Earth kind of moving into this new phase. And I my understanding of the new Earth is kind of like that, like kind of like a like when a snake sheds its skin and it's like this new, it has like this new skin to work with. And when
Mm,
I think of the new Earth, I view Earth as this like once you get to this certain vibration, you elevate. Much like how we can, kind of relate that to ourselves when we, you know, have certain learnings and have certain mindsets, we naturally elevate into this new form of being. Rather it's through age, right? After we learn how to be potty trained and all this stuff, then now we can move into big kid activities. And so that's how kind of like I think about the new earth is like it's raising its vibration. And when you raise your vibration, some things do have to fall away. You
mhm,
can't always do these things, but because of this new vibration, there's all these new things that you could take in. And so yeah, it just like it's very there's so many definitions. Even if you,
mhm,
even, listeners, even if you are looking this up, you're going to find different definitions,
mhm,
different takes, different perspectives on the new earth because there is such a heavy spirituality and metaphysical knowings around this
mhm,
that it's worthwhile looking up. We're talking about books, and that's how I found out about the New Earth was through reading. And so one of my favorite books that is like I always recommend, especially if we're talking about like the new Earth or even like 5D Earth, right? Moving from a 3D existence to a 5D existence. What does that even mean? And so one of the books that I love suggesting is Dolores Cannon, The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. Have you heard of Dolores Cannon?
I haven't actually. This is
Okay,
new.
she's amazing. She's no longer on this plane of existence with us,
Mm,
but she does. QHHT, which is like quantum healing hypnotherapy.
Wow.
And so the three waves of volunteers and the new earth is really just a collection of these hypno sessions that she's had with her clients. And after a while, she'd realized that there's some like commonalities from these clients that she's working with from all over the world, all different ages, all different backgrounds. And so she decided to write this book. And the book really talks about these three waves of volunteers that come in to help usher the humans into the new earth. Because again, this is transformational. So again, some things aren't gonna like be carried through to the new earth. So these volunteers are here to kind of like say like, come on, guys, we're on a new adventure. Let's go. Let's do this. Let me help you guide through this. And she was saying that like the first wave of volunteers started coming in when we discovered nuclear energy.
Interesting.
And when we were getting close to like maybe doing something detrimental to the earth, that's when the first wave came in to say, hey, please don't blow up the earth.
Hmm.
The earth is way more important than we could ever comprehend in regards of like the cosmic presence. Like we're not just a ball floating in space, but like we are a school. We are, a place to explore and experiment, free will, joy. And so if something bad happens to the Earth, then it's catastrophic to other entities and planets, and species that work with the Earth.
Hmm.
And so there's three waves. This is not in the order because it's been so long since I read this book, but indigo children, rainbow children, and crystal children.
Hmm.
And for some of you listening, especially if you are in that metaphysical, spiritual space, indigo children may like ding a bell in your brain of like, hey, I know what that is.
Hmm.
And pretty much these children that come in have this awareness, have this like push and pull to like dive into this spirituality and living life in a way that is equitable not only to humans, but to the planet, to our well-being, and really helping us move from this more industrial, masculine frame of mind to this more feminine, creative, compassionate state of mind. And then if you do your research, you could see like indigo, rainbow, and crystal children have like their own individual characteristics and when they were born. Like I think the indigo children were born in like the 70s. Funny that that
Hmm.
happens because the 60s era of like
Hmm.
peace
That
and love.
hippie. Hmm.
Yes. And so really looking at that and then like the crystal, no, the rainbow children, I think, were like from like the 80s and 90s and
Hmm.
having those come in. And then the crystal children were more recent, like 2010s era, give or take,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So she really dives into that. And then I love nerding out about this book. While she hypnotizes them, she's like asking them questions about like, hey, what's going on? And while they're under this hypnosis, again, different people from different ages, parts of the planet, they're like, oh, the world's moving into this new space. The planet is being reborn, and this is what the rebirth looks like. And that the Earth right now, the Earth vibration is so dense compared to other planets that exist. And so when it ushers into this new Earth, it's going to vibrate higher, which means that if you're not vibrating at that vibration, you'll be stuck in the old Earth. And so really looking at, are two Earths going to exist?
Hmm.
Um, or what does that mean, fall away? And I think of like maybe even like the rapture. When we
Hmm.
really dive into it, it's like maybe the rapture and this idea of the rapture, which I think is kind of trendy right now because I think
Hmm.
thought the rapture was going to happen last week. But it's like the rapture, maybe viewing that as like people ascending to this new Earth.
Hmm.
And so that highly recommend. It's like 500 pages, but you zip through it quick because it's interviews and you're not like reading chapters. And then my next in tandem, I read these books at the same like almost back to back before I started like my spiritual journey. The next book is a Celestine Prophecy, and this kind of talks about spiritual, like how we raise our vibration and how we can view energy in order to raise our vibration. And so this is a very rough synopsis, but it's about this guy and he gets called. He gets called to go on this adventure. So it's a book about like synchronicities, which is rare to find. So he just so happens to connect with his friend who just so happens to have space to go to this, I think it's Costa Rica. I think. I just happen to have time to go to Costa Rica. He goes and he runs into all these synchronicities in the journey of collecting these scrolls. And these scrolls are meant to give us insight on how to get to this new earth, how to get to this new vibrational state. And so as he's doing this, he's learning about energy and really slowing down and connecting. And he's a man, so he has this like overbearing energy. And so he's learning to see it and calm it down so he can discover these next things. It's an amazing book. It's fiction, but also there's so many connections that we have with this concept of the new earth. It's also a movie. It's not a box office breaker because of the because of the what the book is about. But there are some celebrities in there where you're like, oh wait,
Mm,
you're like a big name.
mm,
So, yeah, those two books really helped me kind of understand my relation to the New Earth,
mhm.
and what that really looks like. But this topic is so like vast and deep, and there's just there's so much. I don't know. Alex, do you have like any other hot takes? Because the New Earth, right, is we're talking about this from like a more Western perspective. Well,
In some cases, I mean, Toltec tradition,
in
I guess,
some
in
cases,
South
yeah.
America, yeah.
But I'm
I
curious.
love the congruency between what you were sharing. Dolores Cannon spoke about moving in a more, yeah, internal healing direction and that congruency with the Toltec prophecy and the sixth sun. Because to me, when we pick up the same themes all around the world around a certain topic, then I think it's about a universal truth that just crops up in different ways. So I love hearing about that. And speaking of, indigo, rainbow, or like different children, indigo children are often associated with starseeds. And if you are someone that's new to starseeds or have just heard this buzzword, starseeds is basically what Sarah was sharing about Dolores's book, souls that incarnate into this world to help um, the collective, the human collective, and Earth to move through a transitionary period or state. And my favorite discussion or favorite take on star seeds is when I found out about the Dugon tribe in South Africa, I mean, West Africa. The Dugon tribe is one of the oldest African tribes ever recorded on history. We have their cosmology, which is a story of how they came to being since 3200 BC, and that is like one of the oldest that we have in any part of the world of where they started. And the Dugon tribe, in their cosmology story, like in how they started as a tribe, always said that they came from the stars. And in their cosmology story, they literally outlined what the planet they came from looked like. They described how many moons were around their planet. They described their planet as a two solar system, what is now known as Sirius A and Sirius B. They detailed what rivers ran through their planet. It was like the most detailed thing. When anthropologists, Western anthropologists, found these cosmology story archives, they just thought about it as mythology. The way that we think about Greek mythologies or Roman mythologies, like they describe a culture, but to believe that it actually happened, they didn't put that weight into it. And then when astronomers finally developed a telescope that was able to see past our solar system, one of the first systems that they found, because it's the closest we could see from this planet was the Sirius star system. And the Sirius star system is made up of Sirius A, it's the bigger star system, and next to it is Sirius B, its smaller constellation. And what was crazy is once astronomers started to observe this star system and take into account all of its moons and all of its rivers, anthropologists and later decades realized it directly correlated with the story of the Dugon tribe in their cosmology story. So now this is a well documented um, discovery of the Dugon tribe actually speaking about a star system way before we ever had the telescopes to see it with the naked eye. So I have linked below the documentary that you can find in YouTube, where they interview now people that are part of that tribe and how this cosmology story has been brought on through the ages. But yeah, back to Starseeds. So the Dugon tribe and their people believed that they always came down from this star system to start seeding Earth. So when they came all the way from the BC times, the way that they describe it is that they incarnated as a different type of being, as a human, like humans in the way that we are, we see ourselves, can only exist in Earth because of its density and because of the way that it's made up. And they believe they came to seed the human experiment and that they were kind of like the guardians of humanity through all this time to see how humanity has evolved on the planet. And star seeds, and when you think about it in more the new age, we like to think about star seeds as like a new thing. And what I loved about the Dugon tribe is that they talk about this being an ancient way of being, and that the layers of star seeds that come, kind of speaking on like Dolores's indigo, then rainbow, are coming for that very specific period of time that they are meant to assist in. So yeah, I always find this super interesting because like while we're learning new things, it's actually very much connected to the old.
Mm, I
Yeah.
love that. And I'll tell you, when I discovered, like, because I don't know, I feel like I always grew up like aliens in space and there has to be more. But, you know, growing up in the United States, it's like we're always fed this information that comes from like a white perspective. And it doesn't, and I'm just like, I'm always looking for like, okay, I learned this thing. Where does it show up in other cultures? Where does it show up in other parts of the world? And so when I was like, the Dogon tribe, yes, good, get us on the map. And so I was geeked to know that again, there's this commonality that shows up in different time periods from different tribes, from different people, from different cultures. So
Yeah.
there must like the common denominator. And something I love, when I was, when you look up the cosmology and what this means, you kind of run into like the Nomo, which is the extraterrestrial beings that they were communicating with, and the fact that these beings from the Sirius star system are like from what I read, it's like more like a fish type species, very amphibious. And so yeah, fish aquatics and how that plays a role in, our understanding of these extra beings and how vast it could be. And I did go on like a nice little rabbit hole back in the day of like the Noma. I was like, what does the Noma look like? They're fish humans? What about that? Are they mermaids? And really like diving into what that means. So I love that you brought up the Dogon tribe and kind of like really connecting how these star seeds, the idea of a star seed has and does exist in these different ways
Hmm.
across the world and across time. I ran across this thread that was talking about like Starseed being this like elitist, white focused ideology, and that
Hmm.
when we do hear Starseed, it usually is coming from someone who is of the Caucasian background, very much, crystals and this and that, and I'm a star seed. And I feel like the idea of star seed has been warped. Like a lot of these metaphysical spiritual terms have been warped into this thing that does say like, oh, I'm special because I am a star seed. If you do come into this earth realm to usher in newness, new earth stuff and new technologies and ideologies, um, that doesn't make anyone better than the next person. I feel like we all are here for different goals. Some people are here just to experience earth, and that's okay.
Having a spiritual ego is a real part of spiritual development, and you either get the people that stay on their spiritual development course that move through that and continue to become the more authentic version of themselves as a spiritually enlightened person, or you get the people that that's where they stay at. Because it does fulfill some type of need of needing to be better, or like a hierarchy, right? I would say if you're really a star seed, you wouldn't even start thinking that that makes you better. Uh, you know what I'm
Agreed.
saying? But I will say, Sarah, if we are in this new earth, like, what do you think that would look like?
I feel like that's where we start to have a little bit of fun and use our imagination because along with this like idea of star seed and new earth, it's like there's no tangibleness outside of what we believe in our hearts and what we read in ancient texts. Some people say that the new earth is like an actual phenomenon that will experience like a new earth merging from this old earth, and the old earth, not to get dark, but it's going to be burning and people are going to like a kind of like a hell, like a hellscape,
Hmm.
versus this new earth will emerge. Some people think it's, an alien type rapture thing where you kind of just get sucked into this new earth and you wake up and here you are.
Hmm.
Again, since we're looking at sensationalization, trust me, I would love to be in a IRL sci-fi movie. Um,
Hmm.
Sounds great. Taxes, we don't have to pay that. Perfect. Love it. Tell me when the next time for departure. But some
Hmm.
people are also saying that the new earth is literally just a state of being. And when you adapt these new ways of thinking and living, you automatically confine yourself into this new earth. Nothing around you has changed other than your vibration. And so you're able to easily attract things that help support that.
Yeah, I would say the new Earth, it might look, I think it's already physically taking shape. We have a lot of natural disasters that are unprecedented at an impact that we've never seen before. We are in the sixth largest extinction of ecocide. So a lot of the species that were, well, are not. So I feel like physically we are, not just metaphysically, physically on this earth, we are moving into a new earth because of the decisions of human beings in our lifestyle. So I think the new earth physically is already happening. The topography is different and the species are different. And then as a vibration, I think it has to be something that the collective human consciousness needs to move into that then creates physically a new earth that is more in harmony with the earth.
I agree.
Tell me, what is your enchant your life tip?
My enchant your life, which is any tricks or resources that can help you on your journey, is simply reading the books that we'd mentioned earlier in this episode. Checking out Dawn of the Sixth Sun, reading Dolores Cannon's book. She has several, so check them out. And or checking out the Celestine Prophecy book or movie, I think is the best way for you to enchant your life and really take this concept of New Earth into your daily life. What about you, Alex?
Let's see, my enchant your life resource or trick would be to delve into Starseeds just for um, educational purposes, or if you're someone that is really resonating with having a very unusual life where you do not fit to the status quo as in having a standard job, having a standard family dynamic, following the flow that has been followed by our parents and our grandparents and our great grandparents, and feeling like your life just is not meant to hold that pattern anymore. If you feel just a strong pull to one of your senses, that can, and I mean literal senses, that can speak to a type of clair that you may have. And all of these are just kind of signs that you may be a star seed or have incarnated here to enact a specific mission. And honestly, if this video popped up in your algorithm, you most likely have to hear this message. This wouldn't pop up to someone that this isn't completely at all in their consciousness. So on that, my resource is to take a quiz and also to follow up with this video from The Alchemist. Her name is Sarah. She's on YouTube, really well known, speaking a lot about esoteric and metaphysical topics. And I just love the way she explains star seeds because she says it in a very practical, easy to understand way. So we will drop those resources below.
All right, so as we wrap up, do you have any invitations to our listeners to really tap deeper into this?
Yeah, I would say if you meditate or if you like to journal or trying to start, I have a few prompts for you. The first prompt is what is no longer sustainable in your personal life? And this can be a job situation, personal intimate relationship situation, just a behavior or a thing that you do in your life that is not sustainable. What is no longer sustainable in your immediate city, state, country, or region? And lastly, once you have those, is there a correlation between what is no longer sustainable in your personal life and what you're seeing outwards in society? What about for you, Sarah? What is your invitation to listeners before we wrap up?
I invite you all to go on an imagination walk. We just talked about a lot of like great stuff. Some of it's abstract. So I invite you, maybe before or after you do your meditative journal prompt, go on a walk and envision what your environment would look like on the new Earth, on the 5D Earth. So looking at your surroundings around you and deciding, what are the plants going to look like? The sky, how's the air going to be? The buildings around you, how are you going to look and be in this new Earth? So take 30 minutes, go on an imagination walk, and see what comes up for you.
Love it. And both of these invitations, y'all, it's so you can start to form your own new earth. Like you are part of the fabric of this new earth that we're doing. So, we invite y'all to take these steps to like be part of what that tapestry looks like for you. And okay, Sarah, before we leave, can you give us a clue to the next topic of our episode?
All right. So to close us out, I will be, yeah, here's the riddle. So good luck trying it. Put your guesses down in the comments. The riddle is invisible to some, but always connected. By acknowledging me, the magic is resurrected. I am vast in how people believe in me. Look beyond the veil, and you will see.
Dun dun dun. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of The Sun and the Moon Talks. My name is Alex,
My name is Sarah.
and we'll catch y'all all next time.